Looks good.
Really good.
Okay, at this time, we'll call the Columbia City Plan Commission normal monthly meeting for the month of May to order and have roll call, please.
Chip Hill.
Here.
John Kissinger.
Here.
Brooks Langwell.
Here.
Leslie Robinson.
Here.
Nikki Venable.
Here.
Dennis Warnick.
Here.
Dan Weigel.
Here.
Larry Weiss. Patrick Seagraff.
Here. Previous meeting minutes.
I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from November the 3rd.
Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed, motion carried.
I have to abstain.
I'm sorry.
Boy, you didn't ask for abstain.
You didn't. Let the record show that Brooks abstained. Oath to witnesses. So if you wish to ask any questions, make a presentation, we need you to stand, raise your right hand, and take the oath from our attorney, please.
Thank you, folks. Please raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to offer will be the truth? If so, answer, I do. Thank you. You may be seated.
Old business, Nathan?
Nope.
Okay, new business, 26-C-SUBD-4, DRG Holdings, LLC. Two-lot subdivision, Eagle Landing subdivision, east end of River Bluff Drive and east of Denzil Drive. Nathan.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. So, going through these slides for everyone's sake. SUBD4 is a proposed primary plat to be called Eagle Landing. As you mentioned, it's east of River Bluff Drive and Denzil Drive and Liberty and Countryside and so on, up that way. Currently proposed as a 2-lot, as submitted 2 lots. However, I believe it's actually going to wind up being 3 lots with some additional right-of-way proposed to be dedicated. Multi-family plat. Currently, approximately, I think this is on the high side, so just under 350 apartment units in several different buildings. The platting is required because we have several underlying unplatted parcels that need to be combined, as well as a couple of them wind up being split as well. So even though we have acreage greatly in excess of the 5-acre minimum or maximum, platting is still necessary here. And of course, usual development plan is also going to be required, and potentially variances as well. Speaking of variances, there are waivers requested for tonight for the right-of-way width and the street width, potentially the street specification as well, but definitely the pavement width and right-of-way width. And as I mentioned, additional right-of-way is proposed now to make likely 3 lots out of it. You can see there the zoning standards in the table, all of which are greatly met because these are very large lots rather than individual single-family or 2-family lots. So aerial view, highlighted in red, is the subject area. Normally I would highlight individual parcels, but like I said, this would be quite a few different blue lines there, so I did it in one single red line instead. A little closer view, River Bluff Drive is off to the northwest here, and then Denzil is down here, and Countryside snakes around that way. Oblique view from the east, again giving an additional perspective. We do have one single-family home owner, which is adjacent to the property. Otherwise, it's manufactured homes and multifamily and as yet undeveloped area. The proposed plat, right-of-way to be dedicated would be this one, and as I understand it, additionally this over to the east, which would provide access to about 20 acres of undeveloped land to the east. Additionally, there is this small bit of right-of-way at the east end of Bluebird Drive Bluebird Drive is a public street in a private right-of-way, with the cul-de-sac bulb actually being on this subject property. So to help to dress that all up, they're dedicating that small portion just so that bulb is in public right-of-way, public pavement in public right-of-way. You'll note that the street as designed would go between and connect between River Bluff and Denzil. The original plan, to give you some background, the original plan was just to have one access off the far north end. In our conversations, we requested that they give a second access onto either Bluebird or preferably Denzil down here because of the number of units. I've had a couple questions about how this interacts with our subdivision code and number of access points per lot, for example. This being multifamily is denser than, say, single family or even two family. And so those are those minimum access points are based upon number of lots. We only have 2 or 3 lots here tonight. The area in question is a lot smaller, much more dense than what you would have with single family. So the overall length of street, in the case of a fire, you would have a lot shorter of a distance to go here than if you had 350 single family dwellings, for example. So same concept, but different application. Just wanted to point that out because a couple of you did ask me that. And that's the answer I gave them. The reason for the waiver, I'll let the petitioner give a bit more detail, but basically because you do have the connection between the 2 streets, it would be used as a cut through, and it seemed right that those be city maintained streets in city right of way, unlike, like I mentioned, Bluebird Drive, for example. But in order to accommodate the overall site plan, which I'll show in a second, it did not make sense to have the additional right of way width. Minimum right of way for a local street is 60 feet. So cutting it back to only the width of the pavement is what's being requested. Additionally, it is 24 feet back-to-back curb, whereas the current local street specification is actually 30 feet back-to-back. That's the waiver of the street pavement width that comes into play. You may feel have feelings on that one. Sidewalks are one of the things that are normally put into that extra width of right-of-way. They are providing sidewalks, it just won't be in the right-of-way, and they'll be connective. And again, I'll show you that on the site plan in a second. So that's why this looks weird, because you have only 24-foot wide rights-of-way and waivers being requested for that. Overlaying the plat on the aerial here, again, showing that street connection, and again, that additional third right-of-way, second right-of-way, third lot would come out this way. So this is the tentative site plan, and I emphasize tentative because this still will have to go through development plan approval where the details will be worked out. But generally, drainage goes to the southeast. The river is down here. Pretty much everything flows to the south and east. There is room here if during final engineering an additional detention area is required. There is room to play with there. Otherwise, this will be some of the required recreational area that our code requires for multifamily development. As I mentioned, there are tentatively sidewalks. You can kind of see that there, connecting each one of the buildings. They tie into River Bluff Drive where there are sidewalks up there. This end, there aren't any sidewalks until you actually get pretty far down on Denzil. So it just kind of stubs here in the current design. And then Bluebird Drive does have sidewalks pretty much up to the cul-de-sac bulb. So that may be something that during tech review, we actually request that there be a sidewalk connecting from that point up to here. It could be like a trail or something else just to provide that pedestrian connectivity through both developments, and maybe make it easier for someone who lives here to walk on down Bluebird and on down to Kroger, for example, in the middle of the development. You didn't see my cursor. So that's the plan, the proposed plat. Again, if it weren't for the right-of-ways being dedicated, this actually would basically be a minor plat. The right-of-way forces it into the major plat category, so we're looking at some of the infrastructure there. The proposed conditions that I'm giving you, 1 and 4 are standard. 2 and 3 are more specific to this. Because the sidewalks aren't in the right-of-way, that's why I'm saying that we need a commitment condition that they are 5 feet in width. And then number 3 is deferring to tech review the final specifications for the street width and pavement sections, if you want to allow for the waivers of the width. Right-of-way would be basically denied, but the pavement width itself would be something that would be further looked at. So with that, you have any questions for me?
Sidewalks, since they are not in the right of way,
Yes.
are maintained by the property owner?
I'm getting a nod from the petitioner, so yes.
Okay.
Would it be possible to add no parking on street? Being it's only 24 feet wide. I know there's a lot of areas where they're backing onto the street. I get that, but there's also some areas that I deal with the parking all the time, and I can see where there might be a possibility where people would park on the street for some situation. Who knows what, but it's possible. So I would like to know if we could add no on-street parking.
I think in certain areas that could be very effective. However, perpendicular parking that backs onto this street is technically on-street parking. So during tech review, maybe what we do is we say areas of no parking being designated.
I have a senior apartment right at the end of where I come out, and they back out, but there's enough room for them to back out and turn so they don't encroach on the road.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get my measurements with what I can't. I don't have the full plan, so I don't get to see all of that. But so I was just concerned because they're towards the south. Somebody could be having a party or Lord only knows what they could do. But I can see where they might be parking on the street, and if it's only 24 foot wide, there's only one way to get through, or garbage trucks, EMS, fire trucks.
You can definitely attach a condition. We're granting this waiver based upon XYZ, and that could be one of those conditions that there won't be any parallel parking or something like that, or that parking on street may be prohibited pending development plan review. I think that's a fair compromise on that one.
Okay, because I ran across some situations in small subdivisions in town where they parked on both sides. We couldn't get a EMS through or a garbage truck, and everybody got really excited over that situation. So, also, when it comes to snow plowing, we're only responsible for the 24 feet. So when we shove it off the road, it's going to go in the parking spots. And I've seen that happen in my addition where we have a limited access. So, who controls, who plows the snow in that area?
Yeah, that's something that we've run into, as I mentioned, with the adjacent developments to the west, as well as Quail Ridge, and the street department and those landowners have to work it out. They would have that same problem if they were in charge of their own snow. They would have to figure out where that is, because snowplow is a snowplow. It doesn't matter who owns it.
Yeah, they're just going to plow through there. I deal with that with people's driveways. I get pretty excited about that stuff. So I just want to make sure we have some understanding of who's going to, clean the driveways out before after we get another snow like we did this last winter. You get 5, 6, 7 inches. That's a big pile of snow going into those drives, and everybody starts falling because they can't get out.
That's when they park wherever they want to park.
Yeah.
Because they can't get to where they're supposed to park.
I just a couple concerns with that.
So Nathan, just for my clarification, there will be two entrances to this subdivision at River Bluff and Denzil Drive.
Correct, and the petitioner is proposing a third stub street to the east as well now, which is located, I gotta zoom out, but this would continue on over to the east line. So that would be that second public right of way, which creates a third lot out of the whole thing. And as I said, there's 23 acres, 25 acres of undeveloped property over to the east outside the floodplain. So it's very reasonable that that will be developed in not too long.
And that is a lot of traffic potentially going through the trailer park. That's, you got 350 homes, could be, 700 cars going right through that trailer park, and I've rode my bike through there a few times, and it's you have to be really careful, kids, and I just look at the potential traffic going through Summit, which I'm not against the plant is. Honestly, I've drawn that area enough back when I worked for the county. Oh, we try to draw all those parcels, that's a mess. So I'm very grateful that they're, bringing a subdivision in there to clean that up.
One thing, you mentioned traffic. NDOT was consulted and for comment, as we normally would with plats. This is a little bit farther away from State Road 9, but we knew that they would be interested, and they didn't have any comment at this point. I could venture some guesses as to why they don't have comment, but I won't. Because it would be guesses. So, but they didn't have comment right now. They may still have comment during tech review, though.
So Nathan, all the traffic coming from where it currently comes from, and then this added is all going to be at that one light that's coming out
On Countryside.
on Countryside Drive.
There are two accesses onto 9. So you've
So
got
back
Liberty
behind
Drive
Okay.
And the one
to the north, which
the
this
north.
actually probably will use the most, and then Countryside down south has got the light.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other questions for Nathan? Okay. Petitioners.
Brett Miller, MLS Engineering. I really don't have much to add. I mean, I can answer any questions you may have, but it was very well explained, and but I can entertain any other clarifications or answer any questions.
So you'll be building in steps.
Correct. They're going to start at the north end. The goal is to, I think, build 2 buildings at a time. The history is they build 2. Once they get about half full, they start the next 2. Just a little safer economically, just to do it that way versus building all these at once.
And have some in.
So most likely, I picture the whole north end, the dirt work, and obviously the detention will get built with phase 1. The pads are kind of just sitting there. Start the 2 and then go from there.
Right, single story, 2-story?
2-story,
2-story?
3-story.
3-story,
Sorry.
okay. That's why I assumed, but
Yeah,
I just
3.
I didn't see all the mapping or.
I think there might have been a picture in the packet
May have been.
of what they're proposing.
At this point, the
But-
building designs and the unit count especially are still tentative. So yeah, again, by the time you'll see it again with tech review, these things will be nailed down.
Yep.
So what's like the reasoning for this more narrow street? I mean, you're asking for 24 instead of 30. I guess what's the purpose?
Sure. Initially layout, this was all just gonna be a private drive and just parking lots off of that. And then just with conversations with the city, they were recommending it would be better if this was a public. And we really didn't have space to do a right of way and setbacks and spread everything out to get the layout we needed. It's kind of a funky shape property, and just to get that spacing, it just wasn't working.
Speaking of funky shape,
Yeah. I won't unsee that now.
I mean, since most our streets are, well, all our new streets are 30-foot wide. I mean, if the right of way was 30 foot, would that be a huge hindrance? I'm just also thinking future wise, if you end up developing the rest of that down there.
This is,
Well, we're not allowing on-street parking. They've got their parking off. So that's why they're 30-foot wide, so you can have on-street parking. So we're just wanting the road. We're not wanting the right of way because it's gonna be private utilities through there, everything. So there's no reason to have right of way if we don't have utilities or they're not gonna be our sidewalks and, you know.
Yeah.
So that's why it's thought this way.
I mean, is that, do we have other streets that are 24?
That's what I was just going to say. The subdivision code, going back to Dan's comment, requires 30 feet as our minimum for local streets. The thinking being that you have two 11-foot or 12-foot wide through lanes and then a parking lane effectively. So with the reduction down to 24 feet, you basically have two 11 or 12-foot through lanes. So it will be important to designate no quote-unquote on-street parking in that way. But the through lanes, as long as they are maintained as through, should be equivalent.
Okay.
and I'm not seeing any issues with putting no on-street parking. We feel like we have plenty of parking for the units, so.
Yeah, when I looked at it, I just couldn't tell. I didn't have the full version,
Sure.
so I could see the depth of the parking spaces. I mean, I could guess by it, but I needed a bigger picture. So I could understand it a little better.
Yeah.
And each parking space is long enough, deep enough for.
Yeah. Yeah, they are all
pickup
back.
truck?
Huh?
Deep enough for a
Yeah.
pickup truck?
Mhm.
Okay. Because
Yeah.
sometimes when we park out here with pickup trucks, it's
Yeah,
not enough to get through.
Parking spaces are all per city code size.
If you want, I got pictures of the Super Crew in front of the government center. Well, that doesn't work.
Again, some of these details, most of these details, we will double check and refine for development plan. So, if this gets approved.
Gotcha.
Any other questions? Thank you. Okay, at this time, we'll open it up for public comment, either for or against. Anyone wish to speak in favor of this development, please come forward.
I'm Leonard Grotrian. I live at 884 Summit Drive, and I just wanted to come and make concerns on where the street connects, because living on the last trailer on the inside, and it's an everyday occurrence for cars coming off of Denzil and just flying around that curve, and I'm worried about the children that live on my street. And then we're gonna connect another road and increase the traffic. That was the only concern I had, was the safety of our children with the additional traffic onto our street.
Like I said earlier, I think that's a legitimate concern. I know when I rode my bike up through there, I see kids that are kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
And, there's not a whole lot of room for them to get off the road, into that area. So I agree with you. I understand what you're saying. But
And we have a lot of kids that play football in the street. They don't go down to the playground because it's not well maintained. So they're playing catch out the street.
So yeah, that's why I brought it up. I agree with what you're saying there. It's just educational time for parents and to help them understand what might be happening. Hopefully they adhere to the parents' responsibility. It's no different than my district. I got kids playing on my road too. So it's just trying to educate people on the safety of what's going on.
Cause we have a 20 mile an hour posted speed limit and nobody follows that. There's only parking on one side of the road and there's still people parking on both sides.
It's really
There's
tight.
been several times that fire trucks haven't even been able to get through on the curve because there are people parked on both sides, so I'm just worried that we need more police patrol through there just to maintain that the streets are kept clear, so in case someone would have an emergency and needed.
Well, that might be something we might have to, as a city, look at as far as no parking on one side or something, or no parking in certain areas.
Right.
We might have to look at that to help with the safety of that area.
Okay,
But you guys are not alone by any means, because I live on Oak Street and they go a whole lot faster than 20 mile an hour down Oak Street.
I think it's the whole
It's
days.
the days that we live in.
Yeah. The younger crowd doesn't believe in what's posted on the sign. They push the limit.
Well, I watched my mom at 80 something drive through there about 35 or 40, so it doesn't matter.
That's what I was gonna say.
Dan, don't tell
Some things you should not put on the record, sir.
I'm telling you.
That's all right. That's
Just
why
put
we don't
target
let
on
her drive
mom's
anymore.
back.
All right.
She's not driving no more, so we're good.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, R.D. Schrader, and so our offices are just north of this area, and practically speaking, I think the vast majority of traffic is going to be coming off the Liberty Drive to the north. If I live back in there, there's no way I would go through a mobile home park through the south in there to come in and out. Not that it can't be done, but practically speaking, I think most all of your traffic is going to be coming off of Liberty Drive to the north, and that's why we're requesting that access off of the north in there again. So the land to the east, as the community looks for more housing, and I would reiterate that I think this is quality housing for the community, and the community's looking for housing, and some of these things they're requesting relative to the road can have a lot of meaning as far as practically saying we can actually do this, which they've made very clear to us. If they can't get some of these things in place economically, it's not feasible for them to do it. So that access to the north there, where right now it just shows utilities, where we've asked for a road right of way as we go on east. Again, I think that'll keep a lot of traffic coming from the north without coming through the mobile home park to access that east area for what it's worth.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we'll close the public portion at this time and open it up to the board for discussion.
I've got kind of three concerns, and maybe a lot of them may not apply to, some of them don't apply to this part of it, but just future-wise to be thinking of. Right now, in our subdivision code, there's so many accesses for so many houses, which I kind of equate to also vehicles as far as traffic, what we're going to. Right now we've got, what we got, where did I write it down at? Countryside, we got Bluebird, we got Countryside, it's 188 lots, Bluebird, which is 32, River Bluff 40, not lots, but River Bluff is apartments, and then Columbia City Place, another 144, and a proposed 342 puts us up to a total of 746 units back there, with really 2 exits out. You got the Kroger Road and then the one to the north, and then if we have future development further on back there, I mean, my, just as an overall concern is always plan for the worst, pray for the best. If we have a tornado go through there, you know, they like trailer parks. We've been lucky enough, we got close to one a couple years ago. But again, just, my concern is the access and the traffic we're gonna have built up there. Now, is it gonna end up requiring another light on State Road 9 out there? I know in the mornings, you know, and I can't say how much of the traffic is coming from this area, but you know, in the mornings, you get down to 30 there and your turn lane's not getting through the light. And a lot of times your straight traffic's not getting through a light. So again, I mean, I'm just thinking future wise, you know, I don't know what can be done about it, but got a lot of, you know, plus you got Kroger in there and all the businesses, which is adding traffic to it. So that whole section there, we've got 2 exits out of it at this point. So don't know if that's something we can plan for future wise, especially if the back part there gets developed and what that might be, whether that's gonna be housing or apartments or.
Our office is right there going on the Drive. Morning or evening, I've never experienced an issue, whether it was 8 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the evening on the north exit.
Yeah.
And of course, you got a light at the south exit, and I understand 9:30, but what are they gonna do when they start closing down?
Yeah.
Off ramps on the Highway 30, and they all push in that direction. I mean, this is gonna be nothing compared to that period when you start closing down all the other exits.
Yeah. And just, like I said, just wanted to bring that up as something I was thinking of. I definitely think we have to have a connective sidewalk, at least to Bluebird there. That's gonna be a short distance, because I think you are gonna have a lot of people wanting to walk to Kroger. Or any of the stores over there. And that would be you know, Denzil's kind of a far reach because the sidewalks don't come all the way down there, but there are sidewalks there also. And like I said, I kind of had a concern about the street width, but I think that's kind of been answered. If there's no parking, again, probably doesn't have anything to do with this plat, but that was it on my concerns.
Anyone else?
I'll make a motion that we approve 26-C-SUBD-4 with the 4 things that Nathan's requested and the sidewalk to Bluebird and the waivers. Or do I have to do waivers separate?
Greg, what's your preference?
I think you can do them all together.
We think you can do them all together.
Yeah, and include the no parking, no on-street parking.
On the waivers, you can't. I think you can do them together, but note that it was the waivers are based upon staff and petitioner comments that were just submitted.
Okay.
Okay. Sidewalk on there too.
Yeah.
I second the motion.
You said sidewalk too.
Yeah, that was the second thing.
Okay, motion by Chip and second, Dennis, you seconded that?
Yes.
Okay. We could have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Kissinger,
Yes.
Mr. Langlow,
Yes.
Ms. Robinson,
Yes.
Ms. Venable,
Yes.
Mr. Warnick,
Yes.
Mr. Weigel,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll get you guys an approval letter, and we'll see you again probably at the BZA for a variance or 2, and then definitely back here for development plan. So,
Welcome to the community.
thank you, everybody.
Nathan, maybe a quick question for you
Yes.
on this. On the other proposed access going to, what land he's got left back there?
Mm-hmm.
I guess is the access coming off that going to be suitable for large trucks and earth moving equipment or whatever to get back to that? Or is there going to need, like I said, I don't know, can't see the design on the.
We are keeping some access to the south of the proposed subdivision. enough to have a street
Okay.
there, and we'll touch base with the city to make sure we have clearance there, but you can see just south of
Yeah.
the proposed development, the pit there. is,
So you think you'd make that the
We're planning on having a city
entrance for
road through
equipment,
there, yeah.
construction entrance?
So, I
It-
apologize, I shouldn't have jumped in, maybe it's still fine up north.
Yeah, no, with the availability of 2 access points, then they can go higher than that 40 lot maximum that you can do off of 1 access point. And with 20 acres, you're kind of right there at the break point. Maybe 50 you might get out of 20 acres. So having those 2 access points gives them the maximum flexibility and still meets our code.
I was just concerned about construction equipment being able
Yeah.
to drive through that area.
So we're gonna take about a 10-minute break, reconvene at 7:45, so it'll give you time to.
You gotta stay for the whole thing,
Get
RD.
these boards.
I'm in favor, let's do it.
Okay,
Ready?
any additional?
Okay, it is 7:45. We'll go ahead and reconvene. So, Nathan.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
26-C-CPA-1, public hearing for 2026 comprehensive plan.
Yep. So I'm here, and Matt Work for American Structure Point is taking the podium here. He'll give you kind of the background of what's been happening for the last slightly over a year.
Just a tad over, yeah.
Yeah, I think we started in March or so of last year. So some of the process, and I've got a couple slides touching on a few things I wanted to highlight from a content standpoint. You've had a chance to look at the boards. For the record, after the meeting and before the live stream ends, I'll actually go through and display the boards for the live streaming audience, so you guys out in virtual land won't have missed out on that. It'll just be at the end of the meeting. So at this point, I'll turn it over to you, Matt.
Yeah, thanks. Matthew O'Rourke with American Structure Point, 9025 River Road, Indianapolis, Indiana. Great to be here tonight at near the culmination. There's a couple steps that we go through in the adoption side, but to be with you to talk about the 2025 and 2026 comprehensive plan update. Really, this was an update to the existing document that was approved in 2015 that our company wrote. We were brought in to kind of refresh and update it, and there's a few things that we really wanted to highlight, especially as we got into this process, that were really important to us. And Nathan has them up on the slides there, but first and foremost, just how many of those goals from that 2015 plan had been accomplished, how much it had been used. So there's a section devoted to just documenting that in the plan, because as we ended up kind of hearing from the community, working with staff, working with our steering committee, it became very evident to us that people liked the plan, they liked the structure of the plan, they thought the ideas were good. So we very much wanted to just add to that and continue that kind of success that was had. And so a lot of what you see in the plan is based on that. What we do and what we did add is we like to do this in 3 phases. We call it educate, explore, and empower. Educate, if everybody noticed the very small document we sent out, it was only 150 pages or so. I'm sure everybody read through every word. The appendix in that is our existing conditions report. So during educate, what we do is go out and get all the data, the facts, things that have changed in the last 10 years, whether that be population trends, median income, all those things, and document those. In addition to that, we're going out and talking to the community. We had a board over there. We had 832 survey responses, for instance. A series of focus group meetings where we met with kind of targeted experts on certain sectors, like residents or business owners, to hear what their thoughts are on the next 20 years. We went to a number of in-person events. We like to set up a booth and go to like the Friday on the Square events and say, hey, here's where we're at. We want to know about your community. Please come talk to us. We found that open houses aren't as effective as they used to be. All that so we can learn about this community to start shaping the vision and goals. And the next phase of that is what we call explore, where we're bouncing ideas off our steering committee and staff, talking about strategy statements, really trying to hone in on what this plan needs to be. And that is when we found out this plan really just needs to be an extension of the existing one. With a lot of good ideas, a lot of things that can continue. So when you read through the document, you might notice it's organized into specific categories, places, people, and things. That is an extension of what was already there. We just added and kind of augmented to all those different parts that were in there. Some of the things we did add, and I know Nathan has a few slides on this, so I won't get too far ahead of it, but there's a future land use map. That is very important, especially for the Plan Commission part of this plan, where that's looking at where we think development should go, could go, and what it should look like, / what its uses should be in the future. So that's a very important tool. And we added some character class definitions to help aid with that. The previous plan didn't have that. And our final phase is called Empower. That's when we sit down and come up with all those strategies. There's probably 50 to 60 in the plan in those different categories. We pick out, in this case, the 11 we feel are the most important ones to start implementing now or within the next 5 years. And they were displayed on the boards here. Those are very important. That's the implementation strategy. When you may have noticed in the plan, we don't like to leave it at hey, here's a strategy, go do it. We actually define action steps, parties that should be involved, stakeholders, potential costs, if there's any cost beyond staff time that might be associated with that, so that you have a real game plan, a real playbook to implement those items. And so that's kind of the overall process. That's how we got there. I mentioned earlier, but just to repeat, this is steeped in community engagement. We want everything to be based on what we hear from the public. So in each one of those sections, there's a title that says what we heard, what we learned. That summarizes, related to each topic, what we either heard from the community through our engagement efforts or what we learned through that data exercise. And that's all to ensure that this plan really is a reflection of your community. I like to say it as, we're not here to create the vision, we're here to just help you articulate it. And that's what we pride ourselves on. I didn't mention this in the intro, but I was in a position similar to Nathan's for the majority of my career, so I know what it's like to have a plan full of these big ideas that don't really resonate with the community. We take the opposite approach, and that's a lot of what should be reflected in what you see here this evening. With that, I guess I'll turn it back over to Nathan.
Yep. And so I just wanted to highlight a couple of the things that, again, kind of the bigger changes, I guess. One critical one is taking the future land use map, which is the current one up on the upper left side. That is actually from most recently updated in 2022 when we went through our ETJ proposal. And so that then got morphed into the lower right. You might notice that one thing that we did was purely from a planning standpoint saying, hey, if we have annexations, if we have extensions, this plan is going to be 10 to 20 years out still, probably closer to 10 than 20, but still a number of years. We may have annexations that start going into the southeast. So back in 2022, we didn't want to extend the ETJ area that far, but if annexations happen, it makes sense to have a plan in place to say, okay, you're annexing, what do we expect here? And so that was one thing that's a bit different from the current one. Fleshing out and filling in some areas, especially to the southwest along Old Trail to the west, was another. There were a few changes in land uses as well, which at this scale are hard to tell, but extension of commercial up here, for example, was one. So again, just kind of filling in, taking out a few of the pimples, I think, of just really small dots of comprehensive plan and allowing the plan to be a little bit broader scale was another thing. I didn't do that too much, but there were a few places that it just felt like this is too detailed, this is too fine-toothed, and wanting to make that more of a site-by-site determination rather than the comp plan really dictating it. So again, this is the plan a little bit bigger scale.
Could I just add?
Yeah.
I always love to point out with these slides, this is not zoning. It doesn't mean that this is future is imminent, it's going to happen tomorrow. This is strictly a review tool for this group to use when these proposals come through to say, is this development consistent with what the community wanted on these parcels? And then there's a whole host of other things. A case right before this is a good example of other items to review, but this is one tool you can use to say, well, no, we said we thought we want jobs and industrial in this area, not something else. And so that it's one tool per state law you get to use to help with that.
And on that note, that's a good segue. As Matt mentioned, we added in more text. There was allusion in the 2015 plan, but there really wasn't much guidance as to what each one of these future land uses really should look like. So you might recall some of our discussions most recently with our rezonings on West Business 30. Well, it's on the plan for low density, but what exactly does low density mean? Low density to me is different than low density to you, and it's different than somebody else. So these help to form more of what we were collectively thinking. Still has room for interpretation, again, site by site, but at least you have a better understanding of low density versus medium density, mixed density, which is a new one, / retirement community. It's kind of interesting how those two terms kind of work together. But that is largely applied to our more historic areas. And so it allows more mixed use, more flexibility in terms of both density and use. So hopefully we can start to utilize that recommendation to get ourselves a little bit farther away from the issue that we had with the home on North Main Street being a historic home, historically had an accessory dwelling unit, but was on R1, and the lot standards and use didn't really line up. So hopefully we can use that as well as some of these others and kind of better guide and better inform the public, better guide our decisions, your decisions, and better inform the public as to really what is expected for an area. So, and I'm not showing all of those. There's, of course, one for each one of the land uses. I just pulled out one of the new goals that we had. Actually, I think one of these is more of an update. They're all labeled as new. So just to show you what one of these looks like. Coincidentally, the top one here, connect new housing developments to the city and to existing pedestrian infrastructure where able to do so. And then the principles and strategy in new developments, connect new sidewalks and bike infrastructure to existing paths, trails, routes that are adjacent to new development. So that's taking an idea that was already in the 2015 plan, but not so explicitly worded, and make it more explicit. So that's one of those things that, again, an update, but pretty much a new, in the end, it wound up being new language. So, and I will say that's reflective of the Plan Commission's ongoing desire to have sidewalks and pedestrian connectivity. So that, those were just some slides that I threw out there of some of the big changes. The boards have more details, and of course the document itself, which you will be receiving a hard copy of once it's been adopted. So don't print it. Greg, you would have, but you already printed yours.
It's duplex though.
But on that note too, if you find any typos, if you find any last minute changes, this does still need to be, assuming that you recommend it onto the city council, this still needs to be adopted by resolution at city council. So we still have time to make last minute changes if you see something that needs to be tweaked, maybe minor clarifications, definitely typos, stuff like that we can accommodate still. So, so that's it. We do have to have a public hearing on this to make it official, and then, like I said, this is a recommendation then on to the city council, similar to, but not quite the same as with the rezoning.
Okay. So I open a public session.
You do open a public hearing.
Okay. At this time, I'll open a public hearing to discuss the new comprehensive plan. At this time, I will close the public hearing since no one is here and there are no comments. So, board, what would you like to do?
I would like to give a favorable recommendation to pass along the Columbus City Council.
Second. A motion and a second to pass a favorable recommendation on 26-C-CPA-1. Roll call vote, please. Any discussion, I'm sorry. We'll have a roll call vote.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Kissinger?
Yes.
Mr. Langlow?
Yes.
Ms. Robinson?
Yes.
Ms. Venable?
Yes.
Mr. Warnick?
Yes.
Mr. Weagold?
Yes.
Mr. Zigra?
Yes.
Okay, we will certify that to the council, and I'm not sure whether they have a full agenda yet for, okay, I'll probably be up for Tuesday night. Not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow then.
Well, can I double check tomorrow and let you know?
I won't have it certified tomorrow because we don't work tomorrow, but
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And you don't need it.
Neither do you.
I hope so.
Me too.
I might be here,
I've
but
seen you work.
I'm gonna be there.
Okay.
We should be alright to put it on.
okay, well, I mean, it's up to you guys, and it could always be tabled if need be. But.
We should be good.
Thank you on that. And again, I will start the board slides once we have the meeting adjourned. I don't have any other reports. Amanda, was there anything that I was supposed to tell them?
That's what I can think of.
Okay.
So we talked about the training session, but we had another meeting yet.
We already talked about the training sessions last time, I was reminded, so don't forget those coming up June and August and November, so.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried.